Hey Legacy community, this is Terramaster back again with another Highlander top 8 replay video. If you want a brief explanation of what the Highlander format is, please check out the last video, which is titled June Highlander Blaze vs. Asate. And make sure, as always, to check out our Discord if you haven't already. The link is in the description below. Join us. We do speed duel tournaments, gimmick tournaments, and older Yu-Gi-Oh! Advanced TCG format tournaments. Without any further ado, let us get right into the duel here. Today's duel is PaoloNS, shown here, Discord name, versus Minty V, whose Discord name is Minty. So let's get right into it. As they play their rock, paper, scissors, Minty wins the rock, paper, scissors, chooses to go second, and Paolo will start us off. Paolo will set a Gearfried the Iron Knight and 2 back row. He sets the Gearfried, I would say probably because of the do not give your opponent too much information. But there's always a risk reward to that, which is that Gearfried only has 1600 defense, so it can be run over with something that has 1700 or 1800 attack. Anyway, Minty's going to summon a Don Zalug, set triple back row, and go ahead and swing into that Gearfried. So as you can see, that it worked out well, because if Paolo had summoned that Gearfried, obviously that attack would not have happened. But the downside is, again here, that because Minty took 200 damage and is using the skill Twisted Personality, Minty does get to add a counter to that. Here's Paolo again, draws, has 2 tribute monsters in his hand now, chooses not to play either one of them, probably because there's a lot of back row there. Attacks with the Gearfried, triggers a security orb, puts Gearfried back into defense, ends turn. Minty draws into the Command Knight. That is huge, because that is going to make the Don Zalug strong enough to attack into the Gearfried. He attacked with a Command Knight instead, in order to trigger the skill successor, and he's clarifying here that he did it in the damage step. So offerings to the Doom, let's see, I'm not really sure what the conversation here is, but it's likely that he did not declare damage step before flipping skill successor. Therefore, Paolo can go ahead and use offerings to the Doom to knock it out. And then Don Zalug attacks, and damage step activated the skill successor successfully, successor this time, to pop the Gearfried, passes the turnover, no draw phase because of offerings to the Doom, activates his skill Inner Conflict, takes that Don Zalug. Now he'll tribute summon one of those 2 monsters in his hand, Gap the Divine Soldier, swings a big hit for 2200. Minty draws into half shut, throws that face down, activates Twisted Personality skill to discard Hades from the hand, sets Sphere Kuribo, but alas, Sphere Kuribo you cannot set due to Gap's effect, or you can, but it would immediately go back into attack mode. So Paolo allows a take back just this once, then goes ahead and attacks, triggers that Sphere Kuribo in order for Minty to survive another turn. Minty draws Wild Tornado. That doesn't really help at this time. Passes turn. Paolo draws into Command Knight, attacks. I don't think Minty can block 2 attacks. And there you go. Lethal. Game 1 is over. Into Game 2 we go. Remember, there are no side decks in Highlander, as I explained in the previous video. This time, again, Minty, since took the loss, will get to choose who goes first, and will choose to allow Paolo to go first. Paolo sits 2 back row and passes. No summonable monsters. Minty activates a Shard of Greed, which is definitely a spicy card to put into Highlander, and not very many of the top decks had it. Here comes Don Zalug, attacks into a Sphere Kuribo, puts Don Zalug into defense, passes turnover, draw into Offerings to the Doom, activates Inner Conflict, takes that Don Zalug, sacrifices it for the Me-Fist the Infernal General, which is like a stronger Don Zalug, and that's why it needs a tribute. And attacks, activates skill successor, chains a double cyclone, allowing him to target his own skill successor, and that face down, which was Nightmare Wheel. This makes Me-Fist 2200 and makes double cyclone essentially a mystical space typhoon in this situation. Does the 2200, does give him a counter, but he does get to activate Nephis' ability to discard that Amazoness Swordswoman from hand. Alright, and there's also a Twisted Personality counter gained from the Inner Conflict cost. Minty draws Jar of Avarice, which does absolutely nothing, and I believe that is going to be good game. This was pretty short. One quick note here is that that's one of the benefits of Inner Conflict, is that drawing a tribute monster, as we saw Paolo drew a lot of in both duels, is not necessarily a brick, because as long as your opponent has a monster, you can just take their monster and tribute summon your tribute monster, even if you don't have something to tribute for it. So that was short, sweet, and Terramaster out.